Vamos a continuar con la siguiente intervención. Son dos personas, Mihai-Bogdan ATANASIU y el doctor Tudor-Radu TIRON, a los cuales tengo mucho gusto en recibir y en presentar. El doctor Mihai-Bogdan ATANASIU es investigador del Instituto de Investigaciones Interdisciplinarias del Departamento de Ciencias Sociales y Humanidades de la Universidad Alexandru Ioan Cuza de Iași, Rumanía, y miembro asociado de la Academia Internacional de Genealogía por Rumanía. El doctor Tudor-Radu TIRON es secretario principal de la Academia Internacional de Heráldica, miembro del Comité Nacional de Heráldica, Genealogía y Sigilografía de la Academia Rumana de Bucarest, Rumanía. Van a hablarnos, el título de su intervención va a ser Doing Genealogical Research in Today's Romania, Background, Current Status y Challenges. Sin más, tienen la palabra.
Thank you very much. The 13th of December, 1947, here, excuse me. Signed the Act of Abdication. 4 years earlier, a group of aristocrats founded the Romanian Genealogical Circle, an association having the intention to establish a spiritual connection between all the researchers of the past in order to hold up the conscience about the deeds of the ancestors for the sake of the fatherland. However, the post-war situation of Romania and the beginning of the communist dictature had a dramatic impact over the elites. Therefore, such an initiative had no future. Approaching genealogy in this time could be regarded as an act against the people. The more that the enthusiasts of these disciplines were inevitably compromised as exponents of the class of bourgeois and landowners. For more than 2 decades, one should be discreet when approaching auxiliary sciences of history, because the political police had an eye on everything. However, around 1970s, the policy of the Socialist Republic of Romania was significantly oriented toward the West. This is why, in 1971, veterans of the 1943 Circle and lots of young genealogists and heraldists obtained the approvals for the creation of a Committee of Heraldry, Genealogy and Sigillography based in Bucharest. Instantly affiliated to the International Confederation of Genealogy and Heraldry, the committee regularly organized lectures and ensured Romania's representation at the International Congresses of History Auxiliary Sciences. The spiritus rector of this body was the historian Dan Berindei. In December 1989, Nicolae Ceausescu's regime collapsed, and the Romanian society, including the Friends of Genealogy, finally known the freedom of speech. An entire series of taboos vanished. Before, there was no problem to approach medieval boyars. But when speaking of the 19th, 20th century descendants of boyars, one should be careful in order not to reveal biographical aspects which could be regarded as politically incorrect by the communist doctrine. Also, before 1989, it was advisable to avoid approaching the elites from Romanian territories incorporated in the Soviet Union after the 1940 Ribbentrop-Molotov Treaty, as Bessarabia and the northern part of Bukovina. The omnipotent eastern neighbor, that is to say the Soviet Union, was threatening. The activity of the committee has continued after 1989, the more that law number 102 of 1992 on the State Coat of Arms recognized it as a national body. In the early 1990s, as a sign of a new democratic times was the creation of the committee branches of Cluj-Napoca and Iași, overseeing the researchers connected with the western regions, that is to say Transylvania, Banat and Crișana, respectively eastern part, that is to say Moldova. By the middle of the decade, each of the three centers, that is to say Bucharest, Cluj-Napoca and Iași, known a kind of ideal period, which regular sessions of lectures and a certain emulation among people from the network of history institutes, archives, museums, and libraries. Willing to stand out in this landscape, the branches of Cluj-Napoca, animated by academician Nicolae Edroiu and Iași, and animated by Professor Ștefan Gorovei, issued their own publications, that is to say Buletinul and Arhiva Genealogica, that both discontinued unfortunately. The most important genealogical publication of the post-1989 years is the monumental series The Boyar Family of Moldavia and Wallachia, Historical, Genealogical and Biographical Encyclopedia, a collective work with 5 volumes published between 2004 and 2018, coordinated by the late Prince Mihai Dimitrie Sturza. With the agreement of his descendants, his manuscripts are currently prepared for publication as a continuation of the same encyclopedia. A very important contribution to the contemporary development of genealogy resulted from the publication of a research instrument. As in an example being the posthumous work of Gheorghe Bezviconi on people buried in Bucharest main graveyard, or Mihai Răzvan Ungureanu's compilation of official list of 19th century Moldavian boyars. Several authors published recollections of their own studies. So did in the 200s Mihai Sorin Rădulescu, who also signed a bibliography of the Romanian genealogy. Also by Nicolae Edroiu, who grouped his own genealogical works in 2 volumes. And so did the above-mentioned Dan Berindei with his own work. Speaking about bibliographical issues, one should notice that a selection of genealogy became permanent in the post-1989 editions of the Romania's historical bibliography and currently by the Romania's historiographical yearbook. Monographies has been produced by several authors as descendants of historical family. For instance, in 1990, by Constantin Bălăceanu Stolnici, and then in 1996 by Ion Mihai Cantacuzino, both on their own patrilineal families. Monography were also independently written by history researchers, by Cristian Popișteanu and Dorin Matei on Princes Sturza, by Paul Păltânea on Boyars Conachi, and so on. Besides these authors of monographies, several others devoted their activity to more or less applied analysis on the people of the upper class, generally encompassing a given period of time. So did Ștefan Andreescu on the boyars of Michael the Brave, or Maria Magdalena Sechi on the councillors of the Moldavian Prince Petru Rareș. The modern and contemporary periods naturally inspired a number of researchers. Mentioning only the new wave authors, one should consider the names of Filip Lucian Iorga, author of 2 volumes involving genealogical matters, respectively Tudor Vișan Miu, whose book on the marshals of the Royal Court of Romania is adequately completed with genealogical data. The information previously mentioned could be completed with other names and titles, as there are studies published in periodicals that largely contributed defining the specific of the local genealogical studies. Such were the texts on families, authorities, and powers signed by Paul Cernovodeanu for Wallachia and by Ștefan Gorovei for Moldova, and equally published in Archiva Genealogica. Worth recalling the series of events that put the city of Iași as the capital of genealogical studies. That is to say, 6 symposia, 11 congresses, plus the 5th International Colloquium of Genealogy in 2007. At the list should be also added 6 editions of the National Colloquium of Biography, Prosopography, Genealogy. The different historical evolution of the territories placed inside and outside the Carpathians had an impact on the genealogical research. The multi-ethnic and multi-religious space of Transylvania has been offering an important amount of subjects. Besides the above-mentioned Nicolae Edroiu, worth mentioning 3 names that devoted their writings to the pre-Mohacs situation of the Transylvanian nobility. Ioan Dragan, who wrote about the Romanian nobility in Transylvania, Ioan Aurel Pop, who wrote on the institutional history of the Romanian elites, and Marius Diaconescu, who carried a volume on the structure of the Transylvanian nobility during the Angevin period. The struggles in the field of genealogy continued with Vasile Iuga de Săliște, chairman of Dragoș Vodă Cultural Society. He initiated, coordinated, and partially authored a valuable series of volumes devoted to the region of Maramureș, with an important number of biographies and genealogies. A permanent attention has been given to the documents of nobility, particularly the 16th to 20th century letters patent, armorial or not, issued by the autonomous princes of Transylvania and by the Habsburgs, as emperors and kings. Archivists and other researchers did their best to offer a suitable perspective of what it was the local briefadel. In 2007, Costin Feneșan wrote on the nobility letters patent of Banat. Then in 2014, Laurențiu Ștefan Semcovici published a volume on the armorial letters of the Transylvanian families having Romanian roots. Then in 2022, Adriana Patricia Manea issued a large volume on the arms and genealogies of the families of the entire historical Banat. In its turn, the Hungarian spoken research did his best for reprinting old authors, as Palma József and his genealogical collection on the secular noble families, encompassing 4 volumes. An important role has been played by the research team of the Transylvania Museum Association, a body equally located in Cluj-Napoca that issued in 2003 and 2006 2 reference volumes on the so-called royal books, that is to say the privileged books from the first decades of the autonomous principality, an important source of genealogical information. As mentioned before, the love of genealogy determined the creation of the 1971 committee, which is the longest surviving body of this kind. The waves of freedom created diversification premises for the national community of researchers and amateurs. The creation of the committee's branches of Cluj-Napoca and Iași illustrates a first stage of an entire process: decentralization of a post-communist academic body. Bucharest lost rapidly its preeminence, the number of monthly lecture sessions decreased continuously to the extent that in Cluj-Napoca, but especially in Iași, a reverse process took later. In the 1990s and the 2000s, Professor Ștefan Gorovei affirmed himself as a new spiritus elector, as the series of meetings organized by him and the publication of Archiva Genealogica imposed the city of Iași as the new national center of the research of the auxiliary sciences of history. Number of reasons were behind the creation of the Sever Zota Romanian Institute of Genealogy in Heraldry in Iași. Following an idea expressed in 1913 and resumed in 1938, the Institute was founded in 1998 on the occasion of the 9th Congress of Genealogy and Heraldry of Iași. After 25 years of uninterrupted functioning, having today about 3,100 members, ensuring an important activity devoted to the auxiliary sciences of history, and being recognized as member of the International Confederation of Genealogy and Heraldry, Sever Zota Institute remains the main specialized body in Romania. Besides all these, symposia and congresses in Iași evolved to informal reunions of descendants of noble families in the absence of a true association of descendants of local elites, at least for the territories of the ancient principalities of Moldavia and Wallachia. Specialized bodies existed in other parts of the country as well, such as a Society of Heraldry and Genealogy of the Banat, active in the West during the 2000s. In the North, we are aware of Bogdan Dragos Association of the descendants of Romanian noble families of Maramureș. Established in 2015 by initiative of the late Ionel Valentin Vlad, by that time president of the Romanian Academy and descendant of a local family, the association was subsequently mentored by another late academician. This association used to have a commission for attesting the quality of a descendant of a Maramureș noble family. Also, the association inaugurated in 2014, under the auspices of the Romanian Royal House, the Documentary and Exhibition Center of the Maramureș Nobility in Vișeu, also known as the Museum of the Nobility. Finally, yet, importantly, worth being included in our analysis, the Hungarian-spoken approach of the genealogy connected with territories united with Romania in 1918. Engineer Koch János established in 2005 a Transylvanian Genealogical Society based in Sfântu Gheorghe with about 30 members and having the purpose to continue the works of old authors, digitalize several kinds of sources, and have lectures on family researches. Looking at the 30 years after the political change of 1989, the panorama of genealogy in Romania is not uniform. There were providential people who animated the profile research. There were and still are valuable researchers who dealt with genealogy of their own families or with unrelated lineages. There is, of course, openness on the part of the public as well, as the openness will be greater and the openness will be even greater as the Romanian communities who emigrated to the West want to maintain their soul ties with the country of origin. On the other hand, the brutal separation of the Romanian territories in 1940 makes always relevant the genealogical links between Romanian placed inside or outside today's state borders. The premises of genealogy for the future are better than ever. The research of the last 3 decades approached a sufficient number of themes, creating precedents and suggesting research directions for next generations. We are hoping that the academic institutes and universities will pursue the publication of documents and that such institutions will be open for organizing congresses, colloquia, and symposia on genealogy and other auxiliary sciences of history. It would be an excellent premise if other institutions, as well as the NGOs, will understand the value of all kinds of objects having genealogical values. For instance, the old funerary monuments, supporting programs of preservations and recording of data. The auxiliary sciences of history, including genealogy, are taught in university. There are national as well as local specialized body. The bibliography is reachable these days better than 10 or 20 years ago due to the considerable growth of the communication. In the same time, Romania profile research needs people assuming the position of guiding spirits. For young scholars interested by genealogy of a historical period or another, or for ordinary people simply looking for their ancestors as well. Speaking about the latter, it is important to persuade people willing to have a pedigree that working with documents should prevail in front of working with hypotheses, and that a provable, even modest, lineage is preferable than retroactively choosing ancestors. Final. And thank you very much for your attention.
Tenemos unos minutos si alguien quiere hacer alguna pregunta. Sí, por favor.
Gentlemen, I cannot say many thanks. That was wonderful. Thank you so much that you gave us an introduction to the genealogy, how it is done in your country. But what is most important, if I may say that, is the international character of what you're doing. And another thing in my eyes is we cannot underestimate how important it was that individuals took courage in starting genealogy, whatever they thought it is, but they were always regarded as being different. And so thank you very much that you made clear how important it is to have a free society, a free country, a country of democracy that is learning day by day the connection to the world. So thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
¿Alguna pregunta más? ¿Algún comentario? Bueno, para ajustarnos al programa previsto, vamos a tener unos 10 minutos de descanso.